So we're going to begin adding fractions with unlike denominators. To add fractions with unlike denominators, first I find the least common denominator. Sometimes we call that the LCD. Next, I change all the denominators to the same denominator. I use a giant 1 to do this. I'm basically making equivalent fractions. The third step is I add my numerators and I keep denominator the same. Finally, I write down the sum. Sum is the answer to an addition problem. Now I'm going to show what that looks like. So let's say I have 2/3 plus 1/7. The first thing I need to do is find my least common denominator. So these are not the same denominator. They need to be the same for me to add fractions. So I'm going to write down the multiples of 3. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. I'm going to write down the multiples of 7. 7, 14, 21, until I come to a number that's the same in both. This is my least common denominator. So in this case, it's 21. One way to find that is by just multiplying these two together. That will also give you a least common denominator, although sometimes it can be smaller. So I'm going to change both of these to 21 in the denominator. I use a giant 1 to do it. So I write this fraction 2/3. 2/3 times what giant 1 will give me a denominator of 21? And 1/7. 1/7 times what giant 1 will give me a denominator of 21. So I look at this one. 3 times 7 gives me 21. So the giant 1 I use is 7/7. To get my numerator, I multiply my numerators together. So 2 times 7 is 14. Same thing down here. My denominator is 21. 7 times what is 21? It's 3. So my numerator needs to be 3, because this is my giant 1. So 1 times 3 is 3. Now my third step is add my numerators and keep the denominator the same. So I have 14/21 plus 3/21. So 14 plus 3/21. Denominator is the same. I take my sum of my numerators. 14 plus 3 is 17/21, and that's my answer. I'll do a second example. So this is my first example. Example 2. I have 2/5 plus 2/3. So the first thing I need to do is find a common denominator. I write the multiples of these denominators. So I have 5, 10, 15, 18, and for 3 I have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Notice 15 and 15 are my least common denominator. They're the smallest amount that's the same. So I'm going to change both of these fractions to a fraction with a denominator of 15. So 2/5 times what giant one will give me a fraction with a denominator of 15. And I think, well, 5 times 3 is 15, so this would be 2 times 3, which gives me 6. These are equivalent fractions. Same thing with 2/3. 2/3 times what giant one will give me something with 15 on the bottom. 3 times 5. So if this is a 5, this is a 5. It's a giant 1. Same number divided by the same number. 2 times 5 is 10. Now my third step is add the numerators together. So I have 6 over 15 plus 10 over 15, which equals 6 plus 10 over 15, which equals 16 over 15. Now this is an improper fraction, and it's okay to leave it like that for 7th grade until you get further directions about it. So that's my answer. If it says change to a mixed number, then we'll change it to a mixed number. That's a lesson for another day.